You're listening to Season 5 of the Three Angry Giant Fans and the Jet Fan podcast, where we detail the news and happenings of the Jets and Giants and talk about the highs and mostly lows that those teams provide us each week. We also tackle pet peeves and answer all listener questions. And in Season 5, we're kicking it up a notch. We have two new sponsors. The first is Carolina Beer Temple in Matthews, North Carolina, and the second is the gold standard of hairstyling butter, Rugged Uncle. Download our podcast at Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, and be sure to check out our new website, www.angryfootballfans.com. Enjoy the podcast and go Jets and Giants.
Hey, Saquon, now that this game is behind you, what did it mean to you?
To be honest, I'm so happy this game's over. I don't think I should get, besides today, any more questions about the Giants. But like I always said, thankful for the organization, the team that drafted me. Still got nothing but love and respect for all the guys over there. But I'm happy to be Eagle, and most importantly, we got to win today in division against the division rival. And now it's on to the next one.
When did the extra emotions maybe start to build up? Was it here? Was it during the week?
I guess probably more within game. I probably talked a little more shit today than I usually do. I think I did a really good job of being locked in through the week. Right now, where I'm at mentally, just focusing on my preparation, focusing on the little things, staying consistent.
So that is Saquon Barkley. He's an Eagle now. He's proud to be an Eagle. He just beat a divisional foe, and he doesn't really want to answer any more questions about the Giants. And I don't blame him. Guy showed up. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Giants, Jets, two depressing losses. Season's over. We're, in Cardone's words, we're sawdust right now. We don't have anything left in us. But we are the Three Angry Giant Fans and the Jet Fans. So this is your host, Scott, Giant Mike, Cardone, and Angry Jets fan Novak. And guys, couldn't have been a worse football week. We'll talk about the Yankees and maybe the Rangers and some of the other sports going on. But as far as football goes, we're at the bottom of the barrel.
Look, yet again, we joke around about every year. Can we make it to Halloween? And how many years on this pod with the Giants? I mean, now the Jets have joined that party. So Novak's part of that now, where we cannot get to Halloween and be in the mix. Can't even be in the mix. Floating around maybe 500, where the league is just riddled with parity and 500 records, and we can't compete. Just can't compete. I know there's nothing to break down, but yeah.
You get all pumped up for football for 4 months. You can't wait. It starts, and then 6 weeks in, the leaf hasn't even fallen off my tree, and the season's over. It's unbelievable. Every year.
When teams like the Broncos and Colts have more hope than we do,
it's I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, there's teams that turn things around. Look what Washington's doing. I mean, Houston with C.J. Stroud last year, like they're now perennial. They're now a competitive team every year. The teams, Pittsburgh stays competitive every goddamn year. With Mike Tomlin at the helm there. Denver is. I think who just mentioned Scott. You mentioned. But look at like Washington. I don't care that they played Carolina. They are destroying people. It's Seattle, Atlanta, Minnesota, Green Bay, all the Green Bay every year. We can't fix anything to even be 500.
When's our last Grey Goose game was the last regular season game in 2022, wasn't it? When we beat the Colts, right?
Yeah, I don't think that was the last regular season game, but yeah, that was like near the end of the year, like maybe week 16 or 15. Yep.
Oh, great.
Yep.
So before we get to the misery, let's give a shout out. So this one's an interesting one. Last week I didn't know the origin of the town, and this one the origin is interesting. So, hello, Granite Quarry, North Carolina, population 2,984. It was originally called Woodsides after a prominent family in the area was called Woodsides. However, there was a snafu because there was another town called Woodsides in North Carolina, and so mail delivery was getting screwed up between the two towns. So the post office changed the name to Granite Quarry because of the granite quarry nearby. So interestingly,
I was going to guess that. Yeah. I was going to guess that.
Interestingly enough, it wasn't until 2015 that they actually used Granite Quarry as an address, a mail address. They had been using Salisbury because although the post office said Granite Quarry, it wasn't making deliveries. It was just having PO boxes here.
You sure this wasn't from the Flintstones?
That's
all. Like when you said Granite Quarry, I'm like, I'm pretty sure this was in the Flintstones where they worked.
Yeah,
where Fred worked.
I don't know what just made me think of this, but you guys remember the movie Night Shift with Henry Winkler and
Shelley Long.
Chuck Lumley? So I don't know if you remember, but like the owner's nephew who starts working the day shift, and like Chuck comes in, who's played by Henry Winkler. It's just a great movie. He's watching TV, like he's got one of those portable TVs back in like the early '80s, and he's watching Flintstones. He's like, Barney Rubble, what an actor! It's one of those buried lines in a movie that no one would remember except a guy like me for some reason. He's like, Barney Rubble, what an actor! Every time I think of the Flintstones, I think of that line.
So I was glad they told me where Granite Quarry was near, because I had no idea where it was close to. And then when they said Salisbury, I knew it was where it was after that. But
makes sense.
So the Giants play the Eagles. Interestingly enough, our friend Peacock messaged me before the game and said, Barkley 200 yards, book it. And I said, you're probably right. And it would have been 200 yards had Barkley played the entire game. And Sirianni wanted to get him 200 yards, and Barkley actually opted out and said, no, let the young guys eat, which I thought was a class move by Barkley. But yeah, so Barkley ran roughshod. We called it, I think, even before the season started. We said that first game he's going to get two touchdowns at least, and just be the star of the game. Jones, no TDs at home this season. Giants are anemic at home. Azudu filling in for Thomas was terrible. The D had a good first quarter, got after Hurts, and then after that, they weren't great either. And guys, what I really question too is the game plan. I mean, Tracy had 9 carries, and he had 2 100-yard games coming into that before this. And our leading rusher with 13 carries was Daniel Jones. And that kind of offense just isn't sustainable. Now, I know everyone wants Jones benched and gone. He's gone at the end of the season. We're going to talk about Daniel Jones, I'm sure. I don't think any other quarterback makes this team any better right now. He's gone. We're going to ride this season out with him, and that's that. For the people thinking Tommy DeVito or Drew Lock somehow turns this team into a playoff team, you're delusional.
Totally delusional.
Yeah, I don't even know what to say. Last week I started off by saying what else can be said that hasn't been said. This week I don't even I was thinking about not being on tonight. I have nothing to add to this podcast. I don't know. I don't know. I don't understand. Philly's a good team. They're coming in, whatever. But it just had to be that right from the beginning. And Barkley did, of course, what Barkley does. And of course he was classy about it. But, even the comment, let the other guys eat, it's, that gives the impression to me that when I read that, I was like, so Barkley's basically saying it's a buffet out there. Let's get everyone. Let's go get everyone their career high today in any category you want to get it in. I don't know where else. I don't know where this team goes from here. Cardone, I don't mean to steal your thunder. He was saying this before we came on, but I don't care. Yeah. I don't care. I'm with you.
No, this is one of those games, and we've had just way too many of these. I love the simple statements during the middle of a game. And Mike, I don't know if you even remember texting us in the middle of the game, because all you said, I think who doesn't matter what part of the game it was, but you just said, this is not football. That's all you said. That's all that had to be said. This is not football. And I love those kinds of comments where, we're the angry fans, right? We're the angry Giants and Jet fans. And this one, it's not even anger. It's just absolute numbness. We were joking around that this is sawdust. We have been reduced. I have been ground down and reduced to sawdust, ground down to a stump. There's nothing. How do you break down this game? Scott, you mentioned the word game plan. After the second offensive drive, that's the amazing thing about this New York Giants team that I don't recognize from any other team when watching other games on Sunday. You can't identify an offensive game plan whatsoever on many weeks. We saw one against like Seattle. We've seen bits and pieces of it, and then for it to just absolutely be non-existent, it's inexplicable. It's unexplainable. Mike, to say, like, I don't care. I was thinking about that Monday, not even like Sunday. I was by the end of the game, I'm thinking, I don't care who stays. I don't care who goes. I mean, if everyone, you could get rid of everybody and get rid of nobody. And I'm like, who cares? I got I got the Yankees in the World Series this week. I mean, I got the New York Liberty, for God's sakes, to get me a championship in New York. Something. Some kind of championship with just anything.
Here's what I love about the WNBA. So it has a record season in terms of people being interested in watching it, and it still loses $40 million this year.
Yeah.
And they might strike.
And
the players
they
might strike.
They completely trash the single and sole reason why they have this sudden boom too. They can't trash Caitlin Clark enough on every level.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's how much we don't care.
We're talking about the WNBA in the first 5 minutes.
There we go.
It's week 7 going to week 8, and we're discussing WNBA headlines. I mean, this is what we've been just shriveled down to. Nothing.
Can I weigh in on the Giants real quick?
Yeah.
Please.
This is the point I wanted to make. I brought it up a few weeks ago, and I'm going to double down on it. I think your GM sucks, and here's why.
Yeah.
Here's why I think that, from an outsider's perspective. Andrew Thomas goes down, and apparently you guys, there's no contingency plan.
Never.
Didn't you like move someone from the right side? Like, isn't Andrew Thomas historically, doesn't he have injury issues? Correct?
He does.
Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah.
So a good GM, in my mind, anyone can pick Malik Neighbors, anyone can pick Trevor Lawrence, anyone can make the first 5, 6, 7 picks. The 4 of us, you telling me we wouldn't have picked Malik Neighbors? We would have. So you can't give a GM credit for that. But a good GM, in my mind, has to have a contingency plan. If this person goes down, we will do this. If Jones goes down or it sucks, what our plan is Drew Lock? $5 million for Drew Lock? Are you out of your minds? I mean, you lose Saquon Barkley and your contingency plan is injury-prone Devin Singletary and a 4th-round draft pick from Purdue? I'm sorry. I think your GM sucks ass. You have no tight end. You have one weapon on offense, and you continually can't score touchdowns. So explain to me why he doesn't. I think Daboll's a great coach. I do, because he's won with inferior talent. I think your GM sucks.
Great assessment. Yeah.
Probably right.
Yeah.
Fire him. I don't care.
He could go. I'm starting. I've lost faith with everybody. Daboll, I don't even care about anymore. I'm not going to attach myself to anybody right now. It's hard. Even Daboll, it's just difficult. I think he's a good coach too, but at the same time, it's like I don't. Based on where do we go? What is the answer to fix this vortex of persistent losing year in and year out? I don't know.
Hold off on this for just a second, because I want to get to this when we talk about both the Giants and the Jets after we talk about the recap games and the previews, because we have to do a segment on where do our teams go from here. I think both of us do, because we're both stuck in this situation where how do we fix this and what do we do?
Agreed.
Yeah. I'm game for that. So talking about the game itself, I mean, what are you talking about? What we had 119 total yards,
119,
something like that, and then we just did nothing. I said about Justin Fields, he's just a turd out there. Looks like he's not really contributing. Our whole team is doing that. There's just, to Novak's point right there. I mean, really, yes, Thomas is a great left tackle. How many teams in the league lose their starting left tackle and just become completely unable to do anything on offense at all? It doesn't work that way. You have to have a serviceable person in there where you can move the offense with. And to Novak's point, we apparently don't have that. I was against starting Azidu out there anyway. I wanted to move Illuminor out to left and maybe put Azidu or Evan Neal back in at right tackle. But these, I'm not going to say I know any better than these guys. I don't know. If that's what they wanted to do, then you got to figure that's the right thing to do. Apparently it wasn't.
By the way, for those that are interested in PFF ratings, they rated Azudu as the second best offensive lineman on the Giants this week. So I have no idea what they were looking at, but
he could have been the second best the way everyone else played.
Mike, I think you hit the nail on the head here on one point, and that's since Eli Manning has left this team, the Giants can't handle any adversity at all and do anything to overcome it. So if someone goes down, it's almost like they become non-functional as a team.
Always.
Yeah, it's we put these guys in place. We clearly have the most talent on the offensive line we had in years, but that all swings on whether one guy plays or not. That's not right. It doesn't make any sense. It just doesn't. And then you talk about the defense, right? But this is the same. We've seen this repeat over the years as well. The Giants' defense is good, and if they had an offense that could, stay on the field, score some points, they'd be fine. But how frustrating do you think it is to be a good defense on this team or any team with a really bad offense? You see it. It goes. The same thing happens throughout the games that happens throughout the season. As the games go longer and longer, the defense gets more and more susceptible. As the season gets longer and longer, the defense just starts mailing it in. It's the Jets last year, right, Novak? I mean, beginning of the year, they're lights out in talent. But you get to 2-5, you get to 2-8, you get to 3-11, or wherever you can be. There's just nothing to play for anymore.
I tell you, one player who was functional on Sunday for us. It was Matt Hack. Who the fuck is Matt Hack? Well, he's the guy who punted 11 fucking times for us on Sunday. That's who Matt Hack is. Yeah. That's the other thing I love about. That's one stat I had to throw out there. I looked. 11, not counting the last one play drive of the game. 11 of 12 drives were ended with a Matt Hack punt. Think about that. I looked
Is that
it
how
up.
you pronounce the double A?
I have no idea. I'm just going. Hack just sounds like it's. I mean, guy's a hack. Hack. Who cares? I mean,
who knows?
And I had to look up because I knew going into this week that the Redskins haven't punted at all this season, barely, right? So the guy in Washington, I think his last name is May something. He's punted 12 times. Hack punted 11 times in one game. Washington as a team has punted 12 in 7 games.
Yeah. We're not talking about Kansas City here. The fucking Washington Commanders.
Washington Commanders have punted 12 times. And that's another thing about when we have guys go down. I love the fact that Mike, who was it who said, do you know any other losers that have both their punter and kicker down in the same game?
Yeah.
Not that it even matters, but I love when we have guys go to the IR. They absolutely die. Are these people even alive? Is Graham Gano even alive? He goes to week 2 against Washington, running down a kickoff that didn't count, and we haven't heard his name since. Gillian goes down with I don't even know what injury, and we just doesn't matter. Just throw out the next guy up as far as punting the ball, but. I mean, Mike, you were right about the defense. I love looking at stats, guys. And, of course, I'm looking at to bury the offense. Here we go again, 7 weeks in. Giants tied for second worst points per game. They're averaging 14 points a game, 5th worst in yards per game on offense. On the flip side, the defense, they're 12th in the league in both yards and points against. So the defense has been hanging in there early in games, but like you just said, we know what happens. Eventually, they get worn down. They're on the field for too many plays. They get tired. They can't sustain good football over that a long period of time, and it's just going to get worse and worse. But we're just trotting out the same old statistics offensively. And guys, I don't know, Scott, I don't know where we go, but.
We always have those stats. Like you remember, like Galladay didn't catch a touchdown and all this other stuff. But Giants at home this year, Barkley 1 touchdown, Jones 0.
There you go. Case closed.
It's about all you need to know.
I think it was. I didn't hear this. I'm sorry, Mike. I was going to say. My brother said he was listening to Boomer and Geo, and we've been talking about Met death for a number of years now, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we've said I could go back all the way to not even Eli, going back to the Phil Simms era. The Giants always put up better numbers like on the road than they did at home. I don't know what it is about the freaking swamp of New Jersey, at East Rutherford. Giant Stadium, we won championships. So, but this Met death, I don't know what to even comprehend about how pathetic and putrid this team is at their own home stadium. It doesn't make any sense, guys. It doesn't make any sense.
In our 2 Super Bowl runs with Eli, we did them on the road.
On the road. Yep. On the road.
Yep,
but if you remember, even like Simms, like if you look up his passing, I was always a stat fanatic, and like Simms, back then you hardly threw for 300 yards, right? And we were a running machine with Joe Morris and all those guys back then. But Simms in his career had like, I want to say maybe, let's say it was like 25 300-yard passing games, something like that, which was, back then they didn't throw for that many. Like 18 of them were on the road. Out of like, 3/4, 2/3 were his of his big passing days were always on the road.
And probably most of them are losses. Do you guys remember the back-to-back weeks? They played the Bengals one week where I think he threw for 500 and they lost that game.
Yeah.
And then the next week they played someone on the road.
I think it was Dallas at home, or was it at home?
Or it
was on the road. Was it at home?
I think the next week he had like 420 and it was another loss.
Is that still a record, Scott? I have to look that up. I think Simms had that record for most passing yards over just a two-game period, 2 weeks. He had, I think, I don't know if that record still holds today. It might not with all the
could be. They were both
today,
they were both L's though.
It's like 950. Back in the day, if you guys remember this, like in the 80s, if your quarterback threw for over 300, you lost like 80% of those games. That was a stat for a long time.
Dan Fouts.
The thing I don't get this. This is how much I don't care. This is what I'm on. So the Packers signed Brandon McManus this week, and I'm thinking, wait a minute, Brandon McManus was available? Why do we have Greg Joseph on our team? Yeah, as soon as I saw that come up, I was like, wait a minute, time out. How can this guy be available? I don't, like 49ers just go and find Anders Carlson, who's now awesome. Why you always see teams pick up a kicker and then they stick with that team for like the next 9 years. They just pick him up off the street and he's really, but no, we can't even get somebody to consistently, what's he hitting for us, Joseph? 50%?
But Joseph had all of our points on Sunday.
Yeah.
I don't get it. I'm like, as soon as I saw that, I was like, what the hell? And then, one of the best kickers in the league this year is Austin Seibert for the Commanders again.
Yeah.
I mean, he was available after Gano got hurt. Yeah. It's like, what are we doing?
The Jets. And our kicker can't hit the broadside of a barn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. I just love that your punter's name is Hack with 2 A's. It's the greatest.
So the Giants were the only disappointment this week. Jets played the Steelers on Monday night Sunday night. And did Rodgers pick a winner? He was digging in deep. He was pulling a Spalding.
Boogers, guys. We're talking about boogers. Not the game. We're talking about boogers. This is the shit I've got to respond to. I'm finally on a podcast to get to break down my team, and I got to defend my Hall of Fame quarterback, picking his nose and eating it.
I feel like we're at Bushwood. Spalding, is he getting? Yeah,
$50. Yeah, $50. The Smales kid picks his nose.
I mean,
come on, kid, don't do it. He's going for it. He's going. Yeah.
I mean, a little plug for the pod. Go to angryfootballfans.com and check out my 10 most embarrassing Jet moments. Number 10 was in 1984 when Joe Walton used to pick his nose all the time on national television, and I would get made fun of. It's 2024. It's 40 years later, whatever it is, and I'm getting made fun of by you guys on a podcast for my Hall of Fame quarterback eating his own boogers. What is... This is the fucking Twilight Zone. Like, what is going on?
Yeah, I did not have boogers or the WNBA in my bingo card
No.
for tonight.
So in that game though, you had Russell Wilson start out really poorly, much like Hurts didn't play well in the first quarter, and then all of a sudden once they got rolling, I mean, I think Collinsworth and the crew were, or not Collins, yeah, it was Collinsworth.
Yeah,
I think they were questioning whether or not Wilson should have been the quarterback over Fields, and then all of a sudden they were like, whoa, of course Fields should stay on the bench.
Well, the Jets did it to themselves because they were up 15-6 with I don't know 2 minutes left in the half, and I remember thinking we've got this game in hand. They're owning the Steelers. Wilson sucks, and I was like, just hand the ball off. You know, maybe you throw an easy pass over the middle. Maybe you get a first down and run the clock out. Kick a field goal, great. If not, that's fine too. Go into the half up 15-6, and Rodgers inexplicably throws a ridiculous trying to thread the needle pass over the middle that gets intercepted and they get a touchdown. 15-13. All the momentum is gone at that point. This game is over. I knew right then, game is over. The momentum had completely shifted, and his second pick, not his nose pick, but his second pick is not his fault. Garrett Wilson, our stud receiver, on the numbers, bounces up, guy catches the ball, runs it back to the 5-yard line. It was like, I mean, 31 unanswered points from Russell Wilson and the Steelers. You gotta be kidding me. This team did not show up. And then Rodgers admitted after the game, we were flat. Flat? You're 2-4. You're supposed to be in the Super Bowl this year, and you're flat? Yeah. I saw one player try, and that was Quincy Williams. Anyone else should be held accountable for the fact that they didn't do dick the whole game long. I'm just so tired of this every week. And Tyron Smith, this Hall of Fame left tackle we have, give us Evan Neal. Let's just trade. I'll trade with you guys. Because this guy is a turnstile.
It's amazing, Novak. I'm looking at the possessions here, right? And after, so when he threw that first interception, here's the possessions of the Jets. So interception, end of half, that was nothing.
Yep.
Punt, interception, missed field goal, downs, and then end of game.
Yeah.
By contrast, after interception, here's the Steelers: touchdown, field goal, touchdown, touchdown, touchdown.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, talk about a momentum change. That's what it can. That's what a bad turnover can do. One bad turnover can absolutely turn a game. I was thinking the same thing when the Jets were up 15-6. I'm like, oh, the Jets are going to win this game. They're just going to.
I had 100% conviction they were going to win that game.
I felt good about it, and then all of a sudden, when you saw still at halftime, I was thinking like, all right, you know what? They cut it to 2, right? It was 15-13, and then fucking landslide. The roof just blew off on that.
Yep.
Yeah.
By the way, that was a hell of an interception. When's the last time a Giant had an interception like that?
Or a Jet, for that matter. It just and everything's too little, too late. Devontae, Hassan Reddick, new coach. There are new coach as a defensive coordinator and still coaching the team. It's impossible to do. So
the Jets are going through an off season in the middle of a season.
Exactly.
They're like hiring coaches, signing players. It's like, what do you guys do? It's the middle of the season. Like,
I know
what's happening. The thing that gets me about the Jets right now is, I've never been a huge fan of Aaron Rodgers. I've respected his talent. I think you guys all know that when the Jets first signed him before the injury last year, I said, I don't know how much the guy's got left. And he's spotty. He has good games, bad ones, this and that. But I hate him more now. I thought I might lie. I'll say, because I cheered for the Jets for Novak. Maybe I'll get behind Rodgers. I can't get behind this guy. I can't. Wow. Yeah. Every press conference, everything he talks about, he doesn't say it, but you can read it all over his face and in his attitude. He might as well just come out and say, well, I'm Aaron Rodgers. Clearly everything around me sucks. It's not me. I'm Aaron Rodgers. He seems like a shit teammate. He throws his guys under the bus, gets his old buddies. This seems like a nightmare, and the Jets should cut bait as soon as possible. They went in dick with Aaron Rodgers.
You couldn't have said it better myself, Mike. It's exactly how this has gone down. It was going to go two directions. One, it was going to be wildly successful, or two, it was going to spiral into, what it is right now. This is exactly, we're in the middle of it, and this is not going to get better. They are not going to turn it around. I don't care who you bring in. It's not changing. And this whole culture organization is just a clusterfuck, this whole team. So what a disaster. all of this.
This is when I saw on the Giants boards last week, wanting to trade for Stafford. And I thought to myself, you trade for Stafford, you get exactly the situation you have with Rodgers. You have max 2-3 years for a guy. Why bring in a quarterback for that little time when you don't have the roster around him to compete? Daniel Jones, he's not doing the job that he should, but he's not the guy that's holding us back from a Super Bowl. It's not like, just throw anyone back there and the Giants are in the Super Bowl. That's something that bothers me.
You know what Jones looks like right now? Jones looks like our starter got hurt, and this is a competent backup. That's what it looks like we have happening. We have a backup like Hostetler who's not going to go in there and lose a game. Not calling him Hostetler is way much too high praise, but what I just mean by that we have a guy that we can plug in there, and he's not going to lose the game himself. Yeah. That's what Jones looks like at this point in his career to me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we got Giants Steelers. Jets played the Steelers Sunday night. Giants get the Steelers Monday night. And guys, it's another prime time. Is this going to be another prime time debacle?
Of course it is.
Oh, this is without question. This is going to be a no compete, sawdust, numbing, another numb. I feel bad for the country if they tune in to watch this bullshit.
Here's the crazy thing. Dexter Lawrence is the defensive tackle, and he right now leads the NFL in sacks. And he's going up against J.J. Watt and not J.J. Watt. What's the Watt on the Steelers?
TJ.
Yeah. So you have we've seen time and again where the Giants are the get well game for everyone else. Well, it's not a get well game for the Steelers, but Watt's probably going to have 5 sacks on the Giants and all of a sudden vault into the lead of the sack total or something like that.
Yeah, big name players always have big name games against the Giants. They're not going to shut anybody down who's expected to do good. I don't. This game, as hard and as ferocious and as just at the edge of just insanity that the way that Steelers defense plays, I can't even imagine what they're going to do to this Giants offense. It's incomprehensible. Jones probably doesn't survive the game. I don't know how to break it down any more than that. I have no idea. I get the feeling that Russell Wilson, that was sort of like, a guy hasn't played for a while, or no one knows what he's really got left in the tank. He comes out, plays one good game or 2 good games, and then kind of starts to fall back to the pack. So we'll probably get another decent outing out of Wilson, but he'll suck the rest of the year.
At least we're not going to get beat by Justin Fields. So we're probably going to get beat by George Pickens somehow, the guy that doesn't give a damn about most games, but he's going to show fire in this game probably.
I just know, because it's the Giants and because it's me, Fields will get in this game and do something good.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
He'll
do like a wildcat or some bullshit like that, right?
They'll have a package for him. Oh yeah.
A package. I tell you, the only statistic needed to break this fucking game down is you guys, we all know the Pittsburgh Steelers and their prowess at home on Monday Night Football, right? So they've won 21 consecutive home games on Monday night. 21. Tomlin is 20-3 on Monday Night Football.
It's absurd.
Are you kidding?
Not. You didn't know about the Steelers' run on Monday Night Football?
No.
Yeah. You know, when their last, now this is the home game. And I don't know if you guys remember this. I actually remember this game. So imagine this. The only prayer the Giants have in winning on Monday night, wouldn't this be incredible irony and a great answer to a trivia question? The Steelers' last loss in a scheduled Monday night home game came in 1991, a 23-20 loss to the Giants.
Really?
You guys remember that game?
No.
I mean,
I remember that game.
I remember it. I was still in fucking college. That's how long ago it's been since the Steelers lost at home.
Let's bookend
on a
this
Monday
record,
night,
man.
You know what's wild too? The Ravens, or I should say Lamar Jackson with the Ravens, has only lost to one NFC team. Do you know which NFC team that was?
Yeah.
It was last year, I think. Or no, it was 2022. It was us.
Daniel Jones and the Giants.
Yeah. Yeah. That game actually was at Met Death.
It's absolutely crazy.
Yeah. We played them there again this year.
Was that the Dave Brown Giants in 91?
It was Hostetler.
It was still Hostetler.
Yeah,
okay.
because so that was the year. That was after the Super Bowl.
That was
win.
Ray Hanley.
That was Ray Hanley.
That was Ray Hanley.
Yeah,
Did
Ray
he win like
Hanley
3 games?
putting Hostetler in and benching
Ray
Sims.
Hanley actually went 500 that year, I think.
He did.
7-9 or 8-8, but
Hey, they were 8-8 in the year after the Super Bowl. What a disaster! Parcells leaves in May, leaves us with a freaking just a shit show, and Ray Hanley steps in again. Another great decision and plan by the New York Football Giants back then.
So we have the Jets against the Patriots. So at least, Novak, on the surface, you have hope coming up.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, great. We're going to beat the Patriots. And there's a small part of me. Now, I don't want this to happen, but if they got their asses kicked by the Patriots, I'd be like, fuck you, Jets, and you, Rodgers. Like, seriously. Like, I've had enough with this team. There's no reason that they should lose this game. None. I mean, look at the two rosters just on paper. The Jets should be able to just show up and win this game. You would think that they will, but who knows? The Patriots apparently are in complete free fall. There's rumors now that Mayo's going to get fired, and who knows? I mean, that team is a bigger disaster maybe than the Panthers. So I don't know. I mean,
I didn't see how
Reddick
Drake
is going to be
May
there, so we'll see. Drake May looks decent. He did. I watched part of that game. He's actually he can play, but he doesn't have any weapons around him. He's got no offensive line to speak of. So the Jets do have a good pass rush. They should be in on him on every play, and if they're not, then they've got bigger problems than even I think. So I don't know.
We kind of saw this coming, didn't we, Novak? We said the Patriots and the Panthers just historically bad.
Historically bad. I'm just glad the Jets aren't on primetime because I'm so sick of them. And the whole country has to be sick of the Jets. 5 of our first 7 games, and then after this Patriot game, we got another primetime game against the Texans.
Isn't it amazing? Yeah, when we were looking at, before week 1, we're like, well, they'll probably lose at San Francisco on a Monday night, and man, then they should be like 6-2. Titans, Patriots, Broncos, Vikings, maybe then Bills. All right, maybe they lose to the Bills. Then they got the Steelers. And Patriots. We all had. I think all 3 or 4 of us had the Jets. Like, man, they could be fucking like 7-2. The Jets off and running.
Oh yeah, 2-5, maybe 2-6 if they lose this game.
Yeah,
I mean. And what is even more infuriating than all of this is Belichick giving us these digs every chance he gets. He's got to say something about the Jets, Woody Johnson, the Jets culture, all of it. I mean, and it is just like a kick in the you-know-whats every time he says something. I can't take it. I'm so tired of Belichick. Just go coach another team and shut up. Get off the media.
I will say this. When you're watching him and the Mannings on the Manning cast, it is so insightful from a football knowledge standpoint.
It is
just listening to them break a game down. You're like they'll be sitting there like before Baker Mayfield threw the interception in the back of the end zone that was a terrible throw. You had Peyton going, no, and you had Eli going, don't throw it, and you had Belichick just shaking his head. It's like they all see it. They all see things that the average person can't see and can't pick up on.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. A high level. You remember after the Giants beat the Patriots the first time, they kind of got Eli and Peyton talking at Eli's locker.
Yes.
Yeah. And it was like the most high level football conversation. Like nobody knew what they were talking about. Nobody. You could hear what they were saying, and I'm like, I have no idea what they're talking about.
Yeah. I wanted to add one more stat on top of Novak's 2-5 Jets here, which I thought was just funny. Just apropos here.
Throw it out.
Yeah, it's awesome. I love this stuff. So looking at the, as tiebreakers, not that they'll be involved. Well, who knows where the playoffs will end up, but the Jets' strength of victory right now is a deplorable 154, dead last in the NFL. Who have they beaten? The 1-5 Titans and the 1-6 Patriots.
Yep.
So that's the SOV, that last column there for tiebreakers in the wild card standings and all that. 154. So that's what the Jets are looking at. Unbelievable.
Strength of victory.
Yeah. Strength of victory. Jets are dead last. They've beaten 2 scrubs. So even your 2 wins, Novak, against like 2 of the worst teams in the league.
And if they win this week, what does that do? It's the Patriots again. Like there'll be 3-5.
It doesn't even improve the.
No, it doesn't. The SOB stays.
No, you know what's hilarious about that?
It might make it worse.
It'll go down. So the Jets 154. If they beat the Pats, their strength of victory goes down because the Patriots will be 1-7. So,
oh my God.
This is. I mean, our 2 franchises are just cursed and just it's. You know, it's funny. I was thinking again, Met Death. I can't stop saying Met Death. I think I was saying like they're the Giants and Jets are the fucking Beavis and Butthead of the NFL. Like they're just 2 stoners like just sitting on the couch. Like the rest of the NFL world is passing them by. Everyone's doing like, and they're just sitting there getting stoned and messing up orders at the drive-through.
When you say that, I want to have a Van Halen 70s shirt on because I think that's what I need to be doing back in the 70s. So I've missed this segment the last couple of pods, so I'm going to turn it over to Mike for predictions.
Oh, we're there already. This one's going fast. We really got nothing to talk about. So last week
we got questions coming up.
We had our leader Novak went 0-2 last week by picking
the Jets and the Giants. What is wrong with me?
Picked the Jets and the Giants. That was we should have seen that coming. Cardone and I both went 1-1. Cardone phoned his in, but we went 1-1.
Yes.
And Scotty goes 2-0.
Wow.
Picking the 2 Pennsylvania teams of the 2 New York teams. And so the standings have tightened up. Novak's still the leader, so he'll still go first tonight. He's at 9-5. The rest of us are at 8-6. So Novak, take it away.
All right. Well, I'll start with the Jets first. Like I said before, there is no reason the Jets should lose this game. Strictly on talent. I don't care who's coaching. I don't care who is, I don't care what the name on the helmet says. There's no reason the Jets should lose this. This Patriots team is god awful. I watched a little bit of that Jacksonville New England game, and they're hard to watch. Almost harder to watch than the Giants offensively. So I'm going to take the Jets here 28-10. And let me say this. If the Jets lose this game, I will not pick them again this year. I don't care. Just put I'm done with the Jets if they lose this game.
Clean the slate.
I'm done. I'm out if the Jets lose this game. Giants, Steelers. I don't know how in the hell that you guys have a chance of winning this game, especially after the stat that I did not know about Monday Night Football. But I think that this will be a little bit closer than we think. Like I said at the beginning, Andrew Thomas goes down, and it's almost like you just fall to your knees and just say, I give up. And the Steelers D-line is in on the quarterback against the Jets. The Jets defensive line or offensive line is technically better than the Giants. I think it's going to be a long night for Daniel Jones, so I'm going to take the Steelers here 24-6. 2 field goals. You're not going to get another touchdown again.
Good God.
Oh, my God. All right, so I'm going next here. In the Giants Pittsburgh game, I think I just broke down really eloquently how I think this game is going to go. The Giants have no chance in this game, and I'm not saying that to try to buy a win. A win is not for sale this week. Every stat, everything that you can think of goes against us. I got the Steelers winning this one 23-0, and I think that they roll back like in the fourth quarter. It could be worse. So 23-0 Steelers. The Jets in New England, I agree with everything Novak said. If the Jets lose this game, we shouldn't pick them the rest of the year. This is a perfect game at a perfect time to kind of stop the bleeding a little bit. I think the Jets don't solve all their problems, but New England makes everything right, gives them a win, and the final score is 12-3 is what I have for that score. Cardone is next.
Yeah, very much the same here. What you guys have just said. So, I'll start with the Jet game. Jets have no choice but to win this game. I think New England is. I think it's gonna be a little closer though. I think New England does play pretty decent in Foxborough. The game is up there, right? So it's
yes, it is. Yep.
Yeah, they for some reason they play, they're the opposite of the Giants. They seem to play pretty decent at home, so I think it's going to somewhat, maybe they get a late touchdown or something like that and make it close, but the Jets escape that 24-16. So give me the Jets there. They just have no, like I said, Novak, you said no reason not to win this game, and New England is that bad. I couldn't watch. I tell you, I struggle watching those Saturday morning games anyway. I thank God I don't think there is one this weekend, right? Or not Saturday morning, Sunday morning. I'm thinking Saturday morning cartoons. Yeah, the Sunday morning, the London Jaguars or whatever. But anyway, I don't want to digress. And the Steelers Giants, we just already said it. Giants have absolutely no prayer going into Pittsburgh on a Monday night. Steelers, I mean, this is a team that is competitive. They're playing for playoff position already. I mean, we're already almost at that point of the season. I mean, the Steelers are 5-2. There's no way the Giants cause a hiccup in any way for this Steeler team. You guys, your scores are like a little bit better than mine. I have the Steelers winning 27-13. I guess I have the Giants doing a little bit more than what you guys have.
So they are.
I mean,
they are on the road. They might find a touchdown.
Right. I was thinking that. I'm like, well, the road, they usually get at least one kind of crazy touchdown on the road. So yeah, they still lose by 14, 2 touchdowns. Which, by the way, the line is only 6.5. I think Pittsburgh.
Oof.
Yeah,
Scotty.
So I agree with everything you guys say. I don't think anyone's picking up or losing games this week. So
yeah, this looks like it's going to be chalk here.
With the Jets game, I look at the Patriots, and the Patriots couldn't even put a dent in the Jaguars. Granted, they were in London last week, but the Jaguars look like crap against the Bears. They come out against the Patriots and look great. So I don't see the Patriots doing much. Drake May might get them a flashy touchdown here or there, but I see this game being 17-10 Jets. And then the Giant game, I do disagree with you guys a little bit. Giants are on the road. Giants will keep close in this game. They'll hang tough, but they will not win. It'll be 24-21. They will cover. And being on the road, Daniel Jones will probably have a pretty good game. I see a touchdown to Neighbors, probably a touchdown to Wandale, and maybe a rushing touchdown from either Jones or Singletary / Tracy, whoever it is. But 24-21.
Is Wandale Robinson going to make someone miss or break a tackle this year? Is that
no
supposed to be his strength, right? Is that?
I'm not sure. He supposedly makes people miss, which is funny because when I watch the games, I don't see it.
No, everyone's locked right in on him.
Yeah, just the way, like Peterman's thoughts of their company doctor when Elaine was failing the drug test with opium. He's like, not a chance.
So before we get into around the league, I did want to talk about something because there's a lot of questions about where we go, both of our franchises in the future. And for me, the Giants, I think it's pretty clear cut from the quarterback position. Daniel Jones will not be here after this year. I don't know what they're going to do, if they're going to go for a veteran and then draft someone, or if they're going to draft someone and bring someone else in to be a placeholder for, 2-3 games or whatever. I don't see Shane or Dable leaving, to be honest with you, but the question remains, how do we overcome where we are right now? And I brought up the situation with Stafford because Novak, there's a parallel there to the Jets with, the Jets went after, they had Zach Wilson there. They went after Rodgers. Rodgers comes in and you think that's going to be a fix for them. It really has not been a fix when you break it all down. So where do they go now? Rodgers at most has this year, maybe next year at the most left. He might not even make it to next year. So where do the Jets go from here? And conversely, what do the Giants do? The Giants' offensive line is finally looking better, but we don't have the quarterback that's going to take us there. We don't have all the pieces in place.
The problem I have with breaking down the Giants is, outside of quarterback, which is albeit a big one, we've got some pieces. Now I'm not saying we should be competing for playoffs and Super Bowls, but what are we missing that badly? like I said last week, there just seems to be a black cloud over this team. I'm not sure where I want them to improve so much. I mean, I do think we could get a better quarterback than Jones in here, and that buys us a couple wins. The offensive line at the top level is a serviceable NFL offensive line. Sure, maybe we could add a guard somewhere, but we supposedly have a couple of very talented wide receivers. The defense looks great. The rookies in the defensive, maybe we could use a corner. But the record is so far off needing 3 or 4 players. We look like a team that needs an enema.
You know what I see, what I've seen since Eli left, and even in Eli's last couple of years, is we don't have that playmaker that breaks open like a game like Tyreek Hill or something like that. So what ends up happening is you have these 10, 12, 13 play drives, and within those 10, 13, 12 play drives, if something goes wrong, then your drive's over. And we've seen some long drives this season. It's not sustainable to keep doing 7 yards at a chunk when we know in this league you're going to get a penalty, you're going to get an offensive holding sooner or later in a drive, you're going to get some illegal man downfield, whatever the call is of the week happen, and then you're pushed back, and then you don't recover from that. And that's the biggest problem I see with the Giants. The Giants don't seem inept in offense, but they never seem to score because it takes so long for them to get from point A to the end zone.
Yeah, I tell you what we need. We need a fucking new offensive coordinator. we need someone to come in with a creative offensive mind that expands the playbook and the play calling for this organization. But definitely. I mean, we know about the quarterback position, but I still like to see a more consistent offensive line. I still think this line has some serious holes in it. But to me, guys, I think a lot of it is just the design and the play calling, and they are beyond vanilla offense, right? I mean, there's for whatever reason, it feels like it's been like that for years, and we just cannot seem to break that mold. It's a copycat league. We hear that term all the time. I'm like, well, shit, we don't copycat anything except ourselves. We copycat ourselves, losing every year. We don't do what any other team is doing successfully. So that's where I think it's. I think a lot of it has to do with the coaching staff and especially on the offensive side of the ball. Defensively, but like you're right, Mike. I mean, there's pieces in place, but yet they seem to be so far away from a competitive standpoint. But yet when you look at the roster and you look at individual players, I'm like, it's not bad.
Yeah,
it's not. So, or it doesn't seem that bad. That's why it doesn't make sense. That's why what is it then that where they just are falling so short week in and week out? It's hard to put a finger on it, and I'd like to think that we've been watching this a long time. We have a pretty good football fan IQ, and I don't have an answer. I don't have a theory as to why this team just can't compete.
No, I mean, usually you look at it, you look at a team that's struggling, you go, well, they haven't had this, they haven't had that.
Yep.
And yeah, the Giants have gone through periods where they haven't had this and that, but it's just, I just can't put my finger on why are the results exactly the same over the last decade? Why exactly the same with like 2 outlier years in there?
Mm-hmm.
Everything else is exactly the same. And the players have changed, the coaches have changed. That you want to look at the only thing left. Like I always say with Dallas, the results are always the same, no matter who they bring in, because Jerry Jones is still there. But I don't think Mara and Tisch are doing anything to grenade this organization. They don't do anything,
Mm-hmm.
So I really can't put my finger on it. I don't think we overrate our own talent as fans, but maybe people listening would say, well, it's because you guys think your guys are way better than they are. But I don't see that. I mean, the guys we think are good are statistically good and show it on the field, but there's been zero consistency. I love what you and Scott talked about at the beginning, because that is dead on. We don't have a team that competes in today's NFL because we're not reacting to the way the game is played. This team would be a pretty good team, I think, in the 80s, because we just can have the capability to just drive the ball down your throat 6, 5, 7 yards at a time. In today's NFL, with as good as the defenses are and the penalties and the injuries, you can't sustain things that way. You can't. You're gonna get a hold. You're gonna get something that takes you so far out of your game. You know, that's
it's
the only
terrible
thing I
that
can
you've
think
talked
of.
about the penalties, because I rail about the penalties every week, and I look back, and in the 80s, the average team was getting 4 flags thrown on them a game, and so you figure you have double that now.
Yeah.
And so is that rules enforcement? I don't know what that is. And
Yeah.
Mike, you made a great point last pod about the black cloud around Daniel Jones, and I know a lot of Giant fans just want to get rid of Daniel Jones and thinks that clears up everything. But if you guys remember the last couple of years of Eli Manning, Giant fans wanted to get rid of Eli Manning, and they're like, oh, this is all we need is a new quarterback. That's not how it works. A new quarterback does not guarantee you success. You have to have either that transformational quarterback or that next guy to uplift everyone. Otherwise, you better build a team around them to be good, because it's not happening.
Yeah. I don't know how, as a team, you get out of this. I know that the Giants went through this in the 70s, right? I mean, this is pretty much we're back there, if not worse. We're probably worse. But I don't have the numbers right in front of me. But the way out of that was they just got freaking lucky and drafted Lawrence Taylor. That was how we got out of that. There's not a lot of Lawrence Taylors. There's not a lot of Patrick Mahomes out there that could just instantly transform your franchise.
Yep.
And the Jets are in a similar situation, because you have a quarterback who's aging out. You had a quarterback in there before, Zach Wilson, that wasn't doing anything. So Novak, I mean, what's the Jets' path forward?
Well, it's interesting. You guys were talking. You're a couple years behind us, because what happens is, and this term gets thrown around a lot, but it is so true. You whiff on a quarterback in the draft, it sets the franchise back 10 years. Because look what happened to the Jets. They draft Zach Wilson. That was a whiff. And what do? Now the GM and the coach get completely desperate, and you start bringing in aging veterans to catch lightning in a bottle and catch a championship. Yeah. And that's where the Jets are now. You're not far behind us, because what's going to happen is you might do the same, because you're good enough to win 6 or 7 games. So you're probably going to be out of the quarterback lottery next year, and maybe you bring in I'm not saying it's Kirk Cousins type to try to maybe get 9-8 wins, and that fails, and now you got to go draft a quarterback after that. But again, you're good enough that you can't draft first or second, and it's this never-ending cycle that you can't get out of. And I think the Jets are in the throes of it right now. Tyron Smith and Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams and all these old fucks, that their best years are behind them, and now we've got to start over again. So I think, unless they can turn this, so the Jets technically are not out of it yet, but in 2 to 3 weeks, if they have not won 2 of their next 3 or 3 of their next 4, we're going to be doing the same thing that you guys were thinking about doing, is rebuilding, and we're throwing it. The whole game plan is thrown out, and that's a sad place to be. And the hardest part about being in a position I'm in and you're in, you watch the Ravens and the 49ers and the Chiefs, and you're like, we are so far behind these guys, so far behind, that we're not just wanting to compete, we want to win championships. That is years down the road for either of us to be in that position. And it's just a sad place to be in.
Yeah, very well said.
The Chiefs have lost 46 games over the last decade. 46 games over 10 years.
That's incredible.
They're not even, over a decade, they're not even averaging 5 losses a year.
Yeah,
that's incredible. That's not.
We have 5 losses every year right now.
Yeah.
That actually segues well into our around the league view, because when I look at Mahomes in this week, he did Mahomes things where he skirts down the sideline, acts like he's going out of bounds, and then runs past the defender. And the announcers make this sound like this is a great play. If I'm a defender in the future, I am leveling Mahomes into the next millennium.
Yeah.
And this kind of stuff, this is the kind of stuff that drives me nuts, because we see it time and again where a defender pulls up because they don't want to get a penalty, but yet you're allowing an offensive player to take advantage of this. So where do you draw the line from where you can blast someone to where it's a savvy play? And the savvy was in quotes for those that can't see. And
as soon as Mahomes gets within a yard of the sideline, the defense cannot win.
No.
That's a lose-lose. If they hit him, it's going to be a penalty. If they don't, he's going to do what he did on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
I have a problem with the Chiefs.
I don't know how you change it.
I have a problem with the Chiefs as a whole. They traded for DeAndre Hopkins today, and they were being so tongue-bathed over this move, like DeAndre Hopkins is back in his 2018 form or something. I don't see him as being a top-level receiver anymore, yet everyone is calling this the move that's propelling the Chiefs to the title.
And you know what? It probably will. I mean, we can make fun of it all we want, and it's true, and I agree with you. He is aging, and he's not what he used to be. Can't you guys see this guy catching a touchdown pass in the end zone, like in the Super Bowl, to win them the Super Bowl? Of course he's going to.
Sure.
Of course he's going to. I mean, they want this so bad. The NFL wants it so badly.
Desperately want it.
And
they don't even try to hide it.
No,
they don't.
They don't. They just don't care. I mean, I think when we're talking about going around the lead, I wanted to read this to you guys real quick. Ready? Jets are an embarrassment. Giants suck and the offense is disgusting. Chiefs make a big trade and are good. Lions are the team on the rise. Lamar Jackson's the MVP. Officiating sucks and offensive line play is offensive. Did we not say this last year? It's the same thing as last. Like, you can take this podcast from October, whatever it is, last year, and play it this year. Same thing. We're talking about the same stuff.
Run it back.
Run it back.
Yeah.
The Lamar for MVP thing happens every year. Everyone gets so they get so on the bandwagon for Lamar Jackson. I don't know if you guys saw that Ravens Buck game. So it was a penalty fest again. We call it a flag fest, whatever you want to call it. The Ravens in 4 of their games this year have now had penalties on 4 consecutive plays in 4 games.
Wait a minute. They've had 4
four consecutive plays where they've drawn flags in 4 games.
That's incredible. Yeah. That's stupid.
It's absolutely out of this world. And you know what? I feel bad because the Giants have gotten called for a couple of offensive lineman downfield penalties that we again broke down last week, how it doesn't affect the play, but you're calling it anyway. Well, the Ravens are getting called for this too, but the Ravens and the Bucks both had touchdowns taken off the board in that game on calls that neither of them were legit calls. They called holding on both of those plays and took touchdowns off the boards. And here's where I have a problem. I have a problem with the league taking touchdowns off the board because they do it every week, and it's so selective. It's like, okay, well, we're going to call this, but we're going to let that go next play. We're going to call this, but we're going to let that go next play.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how a team that runs RPOs is not going to occasionally get an offensive lineman a yard and a half downfield. He doesn't know what they're doing behind him.
No.
Did they change that too? Didn't it used to be you had to be 3 yards downfield?
Well, yeah, I always thought it was like 3 to 5. That's what I always thought the rule was. But, in the Giants game, they showed it like a yard off the line of scrimmage, and there was Thomas. So I said, well, if that's the rule, he's downfield, but that's a stupid ass rule.
I think it was right. I don't know when they changed that, but I think it was at least 3 yards downfield, Scott. I think you're right.
So I don't know if you guys saw, but on Monday Night Football, there was a second Monday night game, but it was on ESPN Plus, so no one actually watched it. It was the lowest rated football game in the last, I think, 20 years, if I saw that correctly.
Go NFL.
Yeah.
And it was Arizona. It was Arizona and the Clippers. as Cardone calls them. And it was a brutal game, it was a terrible game to watch, and nobody watched it.
That might have been a low-rated game if it was on Monday Night Football.
Yeah, well, that's
on
true.
regular.
I said to kid, I didn't know where it was, so I'm looking for it on YouTube. I'm like, what the fuck is this game? And then finally realized with ESPN Plus, I'm like, we don't have that. All right. So not that it mattered that much. I was just trying to get, just a visual. I'm like, screw it.
There was like 3 games on at 4:00 on Sunday.
Yeah.
3.
Oh yeah.
It's ridiculous. Like, what are we doing? There used to be 6 or 7 games at 4:00.
I like that 4:00 slot, and it's just
I
they
do too.
overload 1:00, and then the 4:00 games disappear. And yet somehow when you're at a sports bar or something like that, they still can't figure out how to transition to the 4:00 games, even when there's only 3 of them going. You still get Jimmy, Howie, and Terry in the booth, and when there's a 4:00 game kicking off.
And I still think the league has a problem because this was a week of injuries. I mean, we saw in the Tampa game, Mike Evans and Godwin both went down with leg injuries. Ayuk is out for the year. Guys, people are just dropping like flies. We haven't seen McCaffrey. I don't know if we will see McCaffrey this year. You don't know what's going to happen. Just another one of those things.
Yeah, this was a potential pet peeve, but I have another one. So, with the injury thing, it's like, but how? I mean, they've made the game so much safer. I mean, how is this? How could this be?
Yeah.
I mean, we have the kickoffs and we have people wearing pillows on their heads and we have, I don't know how this stuff keeps happening. It's all a smoke screen. Everything's BS.
I don't know if you guys watched the
cares?
Ravens game. Lamar Jackson took a hit to the helmet. And
Saw that
of
play.
course, he doesn't go into the tent. There's no protocol whatsoever that he goes into. It's just
He's the MVP. Why would you send him to the tent?
Right.
Come on.
Yeah. No, he doesn't have to go in the tent. That's not for MVPs.
Yeah.
Did you guys see where Tua came back and was talking about coming back, and the reporter asked him if he was going to wear the Guardian, and Tua said no. And the reporter why not? Just beside himself. He's like, personal decision. Like the hand wringing over the safety, a helmet, a Guardian would have helped out Godwin, right? It's just, can we stop? It's not a safe game. It isn't. Stay within reason.
And I know this doesn't impact football people, but especially for the Yankees-Dodgers series, Fernando Valenzuela passed away this last week, or actually just yesterday. And young age is 63, supposedly. I think he might be older than that, but we're not going to get into that right now. But I think the Dodgers use that to propel to the World Series title now. They're gonna promote Fernando for the first 2 games, and the Yankees will go back to New York 0-2.
Oh, the Yankees don't have a chance now. As soon as that news came off the wire, and on top of that, the entire broadcast is going to be, we're going to be talking about the ghost of Fernando, how he's looking down, how he's elevating the Dodgers to a win. The Yankees don't have a prayer now to win this series.
Well, someone needs to offer on Guidry real fast.
Right. I mean, unless Thurman Munson somehow if he's wherever he is, if he can somehow step in and say, wait a minute, man, I've been here a lot longer than you, Fernando. Get out of the way.
I was looking at footage of Fernando when he was 20, and if that's a 20-year-old, then I'm like a 22-year-old guy right now. So Fernando might have been 85 when he passed away.
I think he had to change his age to get into the Little League World Series, and he just kept that new age.
Danny Almonte.
So here's the over under. There's 2 things. I want to know how many times it gets referenced, and then I want to know how soon into the game 1 does it get referenced. The first strike that paints the corner, and a little help from above from Fernando on that one.
Oh, it's coming.
That might be. If that doesn't happen in the first 3 innings, then I don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So we'll move on to pet peeves. I'll start with Novak.
All right, I have one. I'm gonna throw a little story in here to emphasize the pet peeve. So I'm gonna take you back to the late '70s, early '80s. Lincroft Little League. I'm gonna throw a question out to Cardone on this. I'm bringing him into the pet peeve. Cardone, Lincroft Little League. When you won a game, where did your coaches take you?
Oh, you went to the Lincroft Dairy Queen.
Dairy Queen, Cardone. That's correct. Correct answer.
Yes.
And where did you
Absolutely.
not go, Cardone, when you lost the game? You did not go to the Dairy Queen. Am I correct? You did not.
Well, of course not.
Of course not, because you lost, right? And you're a
That's right.
loser. You didn't get the Sunday. You didn't get anything when you lost the game, right?
No.
Only when you won did they take you. Now, on occasion, a coach would, if you sucked like my teams usually did, they would take you and they would bring you to the Dairy Queen, and then you know what they would say? You got $1 limit. $1. You can only get things up to $1, right? So I would get up there, and the team next to me is the one that just beat my ass, and I'm up there. I'll have a Mr. Misty, a small one, because a Mr. Misty float is $1.09 and it's over our limit. And I felt like such a loser when I'm sitting there, right? I'm sipping my lime Mr. Misty, and I'm seeing the guys that just beat my ass with their sundaes and their banana splits, and they're happy, and I'm angry, and I'm dejected, and I'm pissed. I learned that at 8, 9, 10 years old. Tell me why, after these NFL games, these guys like Breece Hall running out in the field smiling after they just got their asses beat by the Steelers on national television.
Yeah.
And I got to watch your guys. I thought Pinnock and some other guy like dapping up, whatever the fuck that means, with Saquon Barkley smiling, laughing. Why do these guys not care and they think losing is okay? They should be like us. My head was in my hands on Sunday night in dejection over losses. These guys, as professionals that are getting paid millions, are eating their Sundays on losses. I'm tired of it.
That's why, because they're just like, hey man, how did you spend your paycheck this weekend? You know, like, oh man, I just bought a new, you know, like I just got two new sports cars. You know, like when you're making that's because today's professional athlete, they're frauds, man. They're frauds.
It's sort of like the manufactured excitement over Bronny James and LeBron James coming out. God. I mean, Bronny James doesn't belong in the NBA, but he gets an encore with his dad. Like all of a sudden they're going to be the same.
I just have a hard time with how much they just don't care. They don't care when they lose.
No.
Did this happen in the 80s with Lawrence Taylor and Joe Klecko and all the guys that we worshipped back then? Are they like bro hugging their competitors?
Yeah. You don't remember the time LT went out and exchanged jerseys with Randall Cunningham after a game? I mean, good God.
Joe Theismann?
Yeah, right.
Theismann?
No, it's funny, Novak. You say it's true. But I caught a little bit of that this after those games as well, and it drives you nuts, man. Because again, I look in the mirror and I'm like, why the hell do I care? Why do I care this much?
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Who doesn't like a good dip top from Dairy Queen?
DQ?
Oh, yeah, but if I lost, I couldn't afford it. It was $1.09 back then for the dip. I couldn't get it.
A Mr. Misty.
Mr. Misty. I thought they were like 89 cents back then.
They were, but it was under the dollar limit, so I could get it.
Yeah.
That was before the Blizzard. They never had the Blizzard back then.
That was so long before that, yeah.
Well, real quick story. I was the first person ever to make a Blizzard at Lincroft Dairy Queen.
Come on.
Oh,
I worked there, and the Blizzard came in the summer that I worked there, and I made the first one.
No way.
Do you have a plaque?
No, I don't. But that is a true story.
That's awesome.
That's an awesome story.
Mm-hmm. So I usually go last. I'm going to go next because my pet peeve is off the field. I was at Disney this past weekend, and I actually got to watch a lot of the Giants game because I was in lines and I was watching parades and I was standing there, you know, with a lot of time to sit there and watch a football game, which the magic of Disney did not help. Put it that way. The magic of Disney fucked me. But what happens at the magic of Disney is you find a lot of these scooters and strollers that are going on when you're in the park. And if you guys have ever seen a quad stroller holds 4 kids. And there's a chance, if you just do the ages of the 4 kids, that there's going to be 2 of those kids that really shouldn't be fucking in strollers. And, you know, we were behind a quad stroller walking into the park, and we see all 4 kids running. Yeah, we're going to the park. We're going to Disney. And then they hop in the stroller probably, you know, in the 3rd hour and they get tired. but they were up to my hip. You know, they shouldn't
In a
be,
stroller.
They should not be in a stroller at that point, and they were sitting there biting on my ankles and everything else. The same thing with the scooters. Like people that are physically incapable of walking the park, I get it. But you have people there that could walk, and they can walk, and they do walk, but yet they get in a stroller to get to the front of the line. And it's like, Jesus Christ, man. Now you walk at Disney, and every like lane is filled with scooters and strollers. It's out of control.
That place is out of control.
It is the worst.
What is it? 4 wide?
Like, you get a quad stroller that's usually it's 2 deep but 2 back.
2. I was gonna say 2 and 2. Right.
And here's a crazy thing: they have stroller parking at Disney. And for the for a regular ride, it's not too bad. But when you go to like an event, like the fireworks tonight, stroller parking, it's like, where am I? You're row 32, slot 5. How bad is that? You got 32 rows of strollers, and you have to find that you're in slot 5. I mean, Jesus Christ!
Can we get one of these quad strollers for us at Mulligan's?
Yeah.
Right. Just wheel us out.
Right.
We just need someone to push it.
Drown our sorrows. I mean, I think it sounds pretty great.
Does. Yeah. The adult size quad stroller.
Yeah. Just get
Quad
loaded and just do that.
Just do the math. If you're in a quad stroller, the oldest kid, he's not in a stroller.
So true.
By the way, Cardone, you weren't on the last pod. I went back and listened to it. There were like 3 F-bombs the entire pod.
I went back. I listened. It's good. It was pretty good stuff. But
You didn't have the fervor.
We had no
We
fervor.
were lacking fervor.
Yeah. Well, there's nothing to be fervorous about. Is fervorous a word?
Fervorous. Should be.
So that's my pet peeve. So, Mike?
Good stuff.
Yeah, I'm glad you guys got me off the injury thing, because who cares, right? I mean, everyone's out for the season. I don't give a shit. Who cares? Fantasy football people get angry. Who gives a crap? So my pet peeve is week 7, NFL week 7. And I'll tell you why. This isn't a pet peeve for everybody probably, but I'm just going to go back through the years, and I'm going to leave out our outlier year of 2022, because at week 7 in 2022, we were actually 6-1. That was Dable's first year.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to go back to 2017, and I'm going to give you guys our records at week 7. All right. Starting in 2017, 1-6, 2018, 1-6, 2019, 2-5, 2020, 1-6, 2021, 2-5, skipping 2022, 2023, 2-5, 2024, 2-5.
Oh my God.
Jesus.
That's 2 wins is the most wins we've had after week 7 since 2017, with that one outlier year.
I mean, it's disgusting. Gross, as Cardone would say, gross.
That is
So
it's just
7 of the last 8 years, we have had no more than 2 wins.
Think about that.
At this point in the season. Week 7, as we can see, about coming up on Halloween, this thing about being out of contention by Halloween is not a joke. It's true. It's more than true. I mean, I wouldn't have even guessed that when I started looking at it. I said there's got to be a couple of years in there where we were 3-4 or something, but no.
Not even a 3-4 where you're on the cusp of at least, making a playoff run somewhere.
Get to 500 in week 8, right? No.
I mean,
we might have to disband the pod. I mean, outside of 2022, there's been 1 year. That's it. That 1 year of our pod that we've actually had anything good to talk about.
Yeah. So if you're doing the math at week 7, our team over the past few combined, again with 2022 thrown out, 11-38 combined in the last 8 years.
God.
In the first 7 games of the season.
And Mike, I guarantee if we went back to like 13 years, 2013, 14, and 15, it's probably it could be the same.
Yeah. I mean, I look back a little bit, and there was a 4-win in there. But
Okay.
17 seemed to be this real cutoff where
Yeah.
it just started. And 16,
Okay.
of course,
Yeah.
was the year we went to the playoffs with
McAdoosh. Yeah.
McAdoosh. So
Yeah.
that's,
That was an outlier too that year.
yeah, that year was kind of an outlier. So
Yeah.
in that same period of time, of course, we've talked about this every year. They've done nothing to improve it. The Giants and the Jets are number 1 and 2 for the worst record in the NFL over the last decade. That actually goes back a full decade to 24.
Yeah.
The only team really even flirting with us down there is Cleveland. That's it. So these 3 franchises, Giants, Jets, and the Cleveland Browns, I mean, we've said this since we started the podcast, how we have no right to pick on Cleveland. We have no right to pick on, these other teams. And, we really just don't. We are them. It's a decade of this, and that's an era, right? So week 7, just the pathetic starts to the season the Giants get. It's not even starts anymore. We're only winning 3 or 4 games this year. I mean, thank God we got the Panthers on there. I'm not even saying that's going to be a win. All I'm saying is it's a chance to win a football game. Because I don't know if you guys heard, but Bryce is the starter again for the Panthers. So
I just heard that today. Dalton got into a car accident evidently and sprained his thumb or something. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't see that. I thought it was just a coach.
He's fine otherwise than the sprained.
Okay.
Thumb. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't read the article, but yeah, you come out of a car accident with a sprained thumb. I don't know. Yeah. But yeah. No, I think what needs that. I think, and we've talked about this. I know we've brought it up. I think this perception that the Giants still are not this grotesque franchise for a decade is because they're not picking, first every year. They haven't had the worst record in the league. They're always winning around 5 or 6 games. So it goes almost unnoticed in a way.
Yeah. To Novak's point, I mean, we've turned these terrible starts into 5 and 6 wins.
Yeah.
And we're just, like he said, we're in the cycle. We're just in this cycle.
Outside of Barkley, second, and we're always picking every freaking year. We're picking between 5th and 9th or some shit. So people don't notice that how awful this franchise has been because they're not.
Like I love the neighbors pick, and I wouldn't change it. But a wide receiver is not going to turn a pathetic franchise around.
Not really.
It's just not going to happen. And I think going forward, here we are again before Halloween talking about drafts, but going forward in these drafts, we got to stop best player available. We got to take impact positions. And you got to get just an LT type, just a guy who can instantly change your defense. Wide receiver's not going to do it. Safety's not going to do it.
And correct me if I'm wrong. You guys didn't even draft an offensive lineman this year, did you?
No,
did not.
I mean, that's egregious right there.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
I mean, can't you get some 6'7" guy in the 6th round as a project at least?
I will say this: the new offensive line coach, he actually has done well, and the offensive line looks serviceable. But of course, like we mentioned earlier, Andrew Thomas goes down, and then all of a sudden everything goes back to shit.
Yeah. So that usually, we're all fired up about the pet peeve. I'm not really fired up about that. I'm just depressed by it. I mean, when I started going back through and looking at the years, I just kept getting sadder and sadder. This used to be a proud organization, man.
Yeah.
I wore my Giants hat a few weeks ago to darts, and there was a guy with a Yankee jersey on there. Well, the Yankees game was on that night, and he was like, "Yeah, you wearing that hat outside, huh?"
Outside.
Welcome to my world.
Yeah.
Cardone, pet peeve.
Yeah, this is gonna be quick because we've already covered it when we first came on tonight, and it's more about the sports media and their coverage or their storylines going into Sunday's game with Barkley coming back to Met Death and playing against the Giants. And I kept saying the entire game, I had to actually turn the volume off at one point before. I don't watch any of the pregame anymore, but it's as if has never been a fucking player in this league play against his former team. It was like Saquon Barkley. It was like, oh my gosh, the idea that someone on a star is playing against their former team who got let go under not the best circumstances or whatever the case was. The amount of segments and stories and interviews and and comments from the entire Fox broadcast was absolutely nauseating. From really when week 7 start, when the preview for the week, during the game, and then the post game, to the point, Mike, where you said earlier, like, was it Mike? The interviewer Barkley's, or no, Scott, you were saying it. Where Barkley's like, I'm not going to answer any more questions about the Giants. I'm now an Eagle. It's it. So the sports media, just their coverage of this player playing against his former team. It's not like he won a fucking championship here, and then left the following year, or swore that he was going to be a New York Giant and then left the next day. Something like that. This isn't Bill Parcells leaving in 1990. Yeah. So, and then also during the game, it's the fans booing every time Barkley carried the ball. I don't know about you guys. Not that I cared at all about it, but I just kept thinking about the non-intelligent football fan, the burning his jersey or doing all that shock value bullshit with the social media and everything else. These stupid fans trying to get on TV or trying to get on social media with their posts and their, videos and stuff. Knock it off. Just knock it off.
He didn't want to go. Time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He really didn't.
Go.
I wholeheartedly believe he did not want to go. He wanted to stay with the New York Giants, but just the predictable booing of Barkley every time he touched the ball, it's just fucking stupid. So the fans met death. Barkley coming back. It was as if it was the first time anyone had ever played against their former team. That was my peeve.
It was.
I mean,
it was
just, yeah.
You
had others to choose from, but
you would have thought it was Jeter in a Red Sox uniform coming back to Yankee Stadium to play. That's what they made it out to be.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean,
of course he went and killed the Giants. We knew he would. Of
course.
Naturally.
Yeah. Everyone knew he would.
But again, not that because it's an Eagle uniform, it is it is painful, but it doesn't even bother me anymore. It really doesn't. The fact is, Barkley as an Eagle, I'm used to it now. It doesn't. It's him running around. It doesn't even bother me anymore. It really doesn't.
Yep. I'm with you. I don't care either.
I feel like they beat that thing to death on that game too. Like Chris Myers and whoever, I forget who
it was. Myers.
Myers and the commentator.
Yeah.
They beat that thing to death. Like, it's almost like they had that pregame meeting. We're like, all right, whenever you get a chance, talk about Saquon Barkley being a former Giant. Literally any time. Even if he's not playing.
Yeah. Every comment he had was a former teammate or something. Yeah. Every opportunity, coming back from commercials, in between, every change of possessions, it was non-stop.
No, Mike has said this before. You could tell the commentators are ill-prepared. They come in with an agenda, and they're going to stick with that agenda no matter what happens, and they're going to talk about it the entire time. That was one of those cases. They were going to talk about Barkley, and they're going to hammer that home the entire time.
Yeah.
They were probably shitting their pants until he broke a big one, because
no doubt.
His first 5 carries were for like 6 yards or something.
Yeah.
Which is, typically, I mean, he did exactly what Barkley does. 1 yard, no yard, 2 yards, no yards, 55 yards. I mean, it's just a Barkley football game.
But he had like 3 or 4 of them.
Yeah. Then he tacked on 2 more. Yeah.
Yeah.
So before we move on to questions, I want to give a preemptive pet peeve just to our listeners. This is Halloween pun week.
Oh, yeah.
So that we know the scary defenses, seeing ghosts.
Yeah.
So that we're all aware.
Yep.
Cartoons and the graphics.
The cartoon graphic packages.
Halloween pun week is upon us, fellas.
This has been a haunted. This has been a house of horrors for the whoever. Oh, I'm so. God damn it.
Sorry, but it's true. Just take notice of how many Halloween puns we get this week.
So right.
Are they going to treat us to a good game?
Giants fans are hoping for a treat instead of. I can't. Oh my God.
So, Uncle Rico knew a bit about football, but not enough about hair care. Don't even get me started on Napoleon Dynamite. Wagyu beef tallow can't even keep up with that mop that he had. But with Rugged Uncle, the gold standard for men's styling butter, your Rugged Uncle, he does. He smells fantastic. He wears leather. He rides a Harley. He does it without a helmet. He plays blackjack in a smoking jacket in Monte Carlo, and he hunts with a bow and arrow. And above all, he's got magnificent hair. So Rugged Uncle is made with 100% butter and oil. That's not exactly what your hair and scalp needs to be replenished, but there's no water there. So you don't want water. It shouldn't be in your top 5 ingredients at all. So have healthy hair, smell great, use Rugged Uncle, Wagyu beef tallow, lavender, all the great scents. So go to ruggeduncle.com and order today. Use code AngryFans to get a 20% discount.
Hey, give them out for Halloween.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What a great gift that would be. What a great trick.
Yeah.
What a great treat.
I didn't get a Kit Kat, but I got Rugged Uncle. All right.
We got some Rugged Uncle.
The must-have.
We cut it. Go ahead, Novak.
I was about to say the Dick needs to get some Rugged Uncle. Maybe he can use that instead of picking his nose and eating it. He could play with the Rugged Uncle and try that.
Yeah, he could roll it into little balls and eat it.
Yep.
Maybe that's what So we talked last week about Aaron Rodgers and how he used to be the Rugged Uncle and he's not anymore. And then he cemented that this week because the Rugged Uncle does not pick his nose.
He's just
and
like
he certainly doesn't eat it. So we have a friend of ours who got probably might have been the very first order since under our sponsorship, and I've gotten great feedback from him on this product. He has told me it's everything that they say it is on the website. He'll be ordering more.
Is he from Purdue?
He did go to Purdue University.
All right, there we go. We like to see that. So we have a few questions. My buddy Mike Harrison, he asked if we could go back and do the Giants timeline. What do you do when you go back to like 2017? Do you get Mahomes or Watt? Do you trade up for Mahomes? Do you settle for Watt? What do you do in there? In 2018, do you not hire Gettleman and do you draft Allen or Lamar Jackson? And then 2019, do you draft anyone but Jones? And guys, this is a tough one because like you don't know what's ever going to happen in a football season. So, if you go back to 2017, Mahomes was not as highly rated as people thought. The Chiefs traded up to get him, but they still had to go up to 11 to get him. I guess we could have gotten Watt. When I look at 2018, maybe we don't draft Gettleman. Gettleman was decent with us when he was with us the first time. He did okay when he was with Carolina. But Josh Allen and Jackson as the quarterbacks were not going to be our picks. If we didn't pick Jones, we're going to probably pick Darnold or Rosen, which in retrospect probably would have been worse than Jones. And then you move into 2019 and draft anyone but Jones. But I don't know what we're going to do there. I mean, you had Barkley in the fold. If you didn't pick Barkley, I get that. But after you pick Jones, you can't go and pick Herbert and then say, okay, we're not going to run with Jones because you don't know what you got. So I see where we are in the situation we're in. And going back in retrospect, the moves we're making are going to be completely in hindsight saying, okay, we wanted this guy because he's good now. But back then, like I said, when we were talking about getting Jones, I mean, we could have gotten Haskins in that draft. We could have gotten Darnold before that. We could have gotten Rosen before that. So what do you do?
You could play this game all day, man.
Yeah.
You could.
I mean,
you could play this game all day. If you go back to 2017, I mean, the Giants took Evan Ingram, right? It's obviously the best player in that draft is Patrick Mahomes, but that's unreal. We picked 23rd. I don't know that off the top of my head. I'm looking at it. We picked 23rd in that draft. The Chiefs traded up to get Mahomes at 10. That seems like a little unrealistic that could have happened. But obviously, knowing what you know now, you would give up anything to move up to 10 to Patrick Mahomes, to get Patrick Mahomes. And then who's to say he's even good on your team? That's always such a hard thing to figure out too. Just looking at the first and second round here, I mean, We took Evan Ingram. TJ Watt probably is a better pick, who came about 6 picks after that. I mean, but you can go through every year and do that and build a virtual all-star team. Unfortunately, it's not the way it works.
No. And I do remember when Mahomes came out in that draft, nobody could predict he would be the the legend that he is already. You couldn't.
I think a lot of Giant fans harp on that because supposedly McAdoo, after he left the Giants, said, "Oh, he was banging on the table for Mahomes." We don't know if that's true or not.
Yeah.
But of course, this is built into his. People that are Giant fans are like, "Oh, McAdoo should have been retained because he knew Mahomes was his greatness was impending," which I still don't really know if it was or not.
Anyone can say that.
We don't know how many people were banging the table for Johnny Manziel.
Yeah. Is there anyone else in that room that can confirm for us that McAdoo was banging the table, flipping things over, throwing notebooks around? We got to have I mean, no, I don't believe that for a hot second.
And then
so
Mike also asks how our offense would look with a healthy Waller. And guys, I loved the Waller signing last year. But I will tell you this. We are not using our tight ends at all. I don't know if it's a Jones thing. I don't know if it's a offensive scheme thing. Waller looked great in a couple of preseason games. And then once we got into the season, he got hurt relatively, quickly into the season. And then we didn't see him after that. And then he retired, of course. I don't know because I don't know what this offense means for a tight end because we never feature it. We have Johnson, we have Bellinger now. We rarely throw to the tight ends. I really don't know it goes back to the question I had earlier on with the game plans. I don't know what our game plan is for a tight end.
On top of the fact you did trade a 3rd-round pick for him, just so you know.
We did. We did trade.
I mean, it was another bad
By the way,
move.
That 3rd-round pick was the Kadarius Toney pick, which by the way, people thought we got fleeced for.
Yeah. Nobody could stop laughing at the Giants about that one.
No. Waller wouldn't make any difference in this offense right now. He just wouldn't. He would. Like I said, you just pointed it out, Scott. It's the fact that we can't. Tight ends are doing great things all around the league. We can't figure out how to get ours, 10 yards down the field. We can't. It's a play calling. It's a scheme. It's an offensive design flaw. Regardless of who is at that position, Waller wouldn't have made a damn difference in my mind, in my opinion, this year if he was out there versus Bellinger or whatever. Wouldn't matter.
Yeah. So we get a couple of questions from Peacock. He asked who is more likely to go on a 3 to 4 game winning streak, the Jets or the Giants. I really don't know. I mean, it really depends on who the opponents are. The Giants, they could put together a 2-3 game winning streak, but the Jets could too. So I'm not really sure on this one.
I think I personally think the easy answer is the Jets. I mean, and that's not to say I think the Jets are any good, but their schedule is weaker. They do have a better roster, but that would be my simple answer. But you guys could obviously disagree.
It's got to be the Jets. The Giants, they're just not good enough to put that many good weeks of football together. There's no way.
Right off the top of my head, I mean, I said Jets before. I even looked at the schedule, but looking at the schedule, the Jets actually have a couple of opportunities to do that.
Yeah.
They start this week, Patriots, Texans, Cardinals. The Texans game is going to be a difficult game, but then the next kind of grouping there, if you start with the Cardinals again, you got Cardinals, Colts, then a bye week, then the Seahawks. And then the next 3 weeks after that are Miami, Jacksonville, and the Rams. I mean, there's 3 different opportunities for a 3-game win streak in there. Yeah. I don't see a single one for the Giants.
Yeah.
No, that's not even close.
Then Peacock asks a question, which I think is a really good one. He said, who is the worst owner, Woody, Jerry, or Mara? And it's a tough one because for me, I think Mike mentioned it earlier. He said Mara doesn't really meddle. He just lets his people do the thing he does. So he's really dependent on what the football people do. Woody Johnson to me is a pretty bad owner, but Jerry Jones to me also is a very bad owner because Jerry Jones not only thinks he's the owner, but he also thinks he knows what to do from a football standpoint.
Yeah, that's what makes him so bad.
Right.
So I'm a little bit torn on this. I would almost go Jerry Jones just because Jerry thinks he's a football guy, even though he's got his son, running more lately.
Yeah.
Guys, you have to look at the fact that they haven't won anything since 1996.
Since he was handed a team.
I am not always in the camp of blaming ownership for whatever reason. As long as you have an owner that's willing to spend money and they're not just cost cutting for this because they just don't care about winning, then I can see an owner being a problem. Woody Johnson wants to win. He's just an idiot. I mean, so he hires the wrong people, but he tries to hire people that know the game. So I can't blame. Like, he wants to spend money. He'll do what. They probably went to him and said, "We need Devontae Adams." He's like, "Okay, we can win. Fine."
Well, who do I write the check to?
Would you rather have someone that's willing to take risks and spend money, or like someone like Jerry Jones who feels like he's a GM and he's not? He's a moron.
Yeah. Out of those three, I'd sign up for Mara again. But that doesn't mean I don't think he's the best owner in football. But out of that grouping,
Mara,
yeah. I would agree. Mara probably just by default. That group.
I want Jerry Jones nowhere near my organization. I know that. That's
yes.
I started saying this, my prediction a couple years ago. The Cowboys are going to win the Super Bowl the year Jones dies. Yeah, he'll drop dead somewhere, and Dallas will win the Super Bowl that year. That's my prediction.
Write that down.
Yeah,
that's a good one.
Good one.
Yeah,
because that could happen any day.
I could.
Skeletor. You guys got anything else for this week?
We have another question, Scott. It came to you via text last week, and we missed it.
Wait. Was this from Bonnie?
Yeah.
I had meant to bring this up too. It was a quarterback Rushmore, isn't it?
Yeah, she was like, you guys didn't answer my question.
Yeah, I did not, and you're right.
The question was your all-time quarterback, not Giants or Jets, could be, if you think that, but the quarterback Mount Rushmore. That's her question.
You want to go first, Mike?
Yeah, I'll go first because I had some time to think about this. So my quarterback Mount Rushmore, I had to. You always have to put rules so you can narrow it down a little bit. So I think it's someone who has to be people who are not playing anymore. In my opinion, you guys can do whatever you want, and it then has to be people that I actually saw play. That's the rules I put on myself. So, I can't remember exactly. I know it was Montana, and it was Elway. And I had some trouble with the last one. I think I settled on Marino, but then I didn't like that because he didn't win anything. But let's go Montana, Elway, Favre, Marino.
I will go Montana, Brady.
Oh, I left out Brady. Yeah.
Marino, and I would say, even though he's still playing, I would say Mahomes.
He's going to be there.
But if it's not playing, then I would throw Elway in there.
By the way, apologize to Bonnie because I did miss that one last week. So
you just did.
Yeah, I did it again too, and I had a note.
You just apologized to her.
You going, Scott? Go ahead.
Yeah, mine would be. I'll be a little unorthodox here because I do. I saw quite a few quarterbacks. I liked quite a few quarterbacks, and although I can't put Rodgers or Favre in there as the best, Elway definitely makes the list. Brady makes the list. Marino makes the list, and then my fourth is probably a little unorthodox in this one, in that I would go with
really unorthodox. Can't remember his name.
Just the Bengals starter? Is this
Bobby Brister?
No, I was gonna go with Terry Bradshaw.
Bradshaw.
Well, he did win 4 Super Bowls.
He did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a couple of the usual suspects on there. I mean, obviously, growing up, we all grew up around the same time, obviously. But for our listeners, if there's some really young ones out there, I mean, it's got to be, cool Joe Montana. I mean, Montana just got it done year in and year out back in the 80s. Brady, no doubt. I have Favre also, and then Peyton Manning is my
I
other.
forgot about Peyton Manning. That is
Peyton's a good one,
true.
too.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
Montana, Favre, Brady, and Peyton. No particular order. Yeah.
Good question.
Good question, though. That's a good question.
Bonnie, well done.
There's because I had to think about
Kudos
it. Right?
to me
yeah.
for forgetting about it.
Yeah.
But that's where my head went first. It was like Montana first. The first guy to come in my head was Montana.
Mine too.
Same.
Mine too.
Yeah.
The funny thing is, if you go back and look at Montana's career, you might not think that based on what Brady did, but I think it's ingrained in us because we were so young at that point. And back then the NFL was much more competitive, I thought.
It was.
Because you could put someone like Kurt Warner up there, but he did it for a shorter time and stuff like that.
I mean, Montana was just Mr. Consistent, and he wasn't a big tough guy, but he took some nasty hits. He played in a league where no one was protecting the quarterback outside the offensive line. The officials weren't, certainly. He just, like Cardone said it best, he just got it done. He just got it done.
Yeah.
I mean, the two biggest wins the Giants had against the 49ers, our first order of business was to get him out of the game.
Knocked him out a couple times. I know.
It's the only way it's the only way we could get it done.
Yeah.
You guys got anything else?
I do, actually. I just thought of this. Hard to believe this, but I actually kind of miss Saleh. I was taking note. Anybody notice where were the fucking camera shots of Ulbrich?
Ulbrich? None.
Yeah, they're gone.
Right? I started thinking about it just at some point, Novak, like in a minute, I don't know, like somewhere deep in the game. I'm like, oh yeah, I haven't seen any sideline shots of the Jets interim head coach, right? I mean, we all missed Robert Saleh.
We probably got more at Tomlin.
No, we probably got more. Rodgers is probably pissed because that's why he got caught eating his boogers. Because the cameraman was not on Saleh.
Yeah, but
that's it.
Right?
I miss Saleh. I miss just saying it. I miss
I
seeing
did
him.
too.
I miss that. Yeah,
I agree.
Kind of miss it.
Cardone. I missed it.
Yeah.
That camera that caught Rodgers would definitely have been squarely on Saleh's bald head.
doubt.
No question.
absolutely. I just thought of it. Yeah, I'm like, Saleh. I kind of missed the guy. Yeah.
So check us out on Twitter at @angry_3 and go to our website, www.angryfootballfans.com. We'll be back next week. We have the Giants-Steelers debacle that's impending because it's a primetime game, and then the Jets-Patriots game. So
it's already a debacle.
it's definitely a debacle. we already know that.
Away. It's a debacle.
It's certainly a debacle. Jones is like 1 for 13 on prime time. He's done.
It's over. Game's already over.
It's pathetic.